Good evening and welcome to The Business Coach, a show in which you out to help entrepreneurs better their businesses. The show tonight is coming to you from City Lodge Hotel based here in Two Rivers. If you're a family out there and you're looking for a place to just come and hang out with your family, they have lots of rooms available. And if you're an entrepreneur or in the corporate world and you're looking to have your conference or your meetings held, there are lots of conference rooms available. And just looking forward to just keep fit, have training rooms available. On the show tonight, we're going to be exploring family business, and I'm going to be having conversations with persons from 3 generations. On the first half of the show, I'm going to be having a conversation with Mrs. Minor and the son Kingsley, who are from Wiki Good Hope, representing the first and second generation of the business. And after the break, I'm going to be having a conversation with Rupen Shah, the CEO of Victoria Court, a business that has been in existence for 60 years and are on their 3rd generation. Quite a lot to learn from the show tonight. So ladies and gentlemen, just stick on. So much to learn. So welcome to the show. Family businesses are a key driver of Kenya's economy. A report by Asoko Insight highlights that there are 490 family-owned businesses earning over $1 billion a year. Despite its significance in the economy, family-owned businesses face challenges, with corruption ranked as a top issue according to a PwC report. According to statistics, only 30% of family businesses transition to the 2nd generation and 13% to the 3rd generation. So this is quite an interesting part of the show because tonight we're going to be exploring the family business, and how better to do it than having a mother and son on the same set to have this particular conversation. The business is Wiki Good Hope, which is just transitioning from the first generation to the next generation. And with me I have Mrs. Minor,
Yes.
who's the founder of Wiki Good Hope Schools. How many campuses right now?
We are in campus number 4.
Wow, interesting. How many years?
This is our 20th year.
Wow,
Yes.
interesting. So you minus your years and I'm literally a toddler. And I also have with me Kingsley.
Yeah, pleasure.
So Kingsley, you're the son.
Yes.
Interesting. So what's your role in the business?
I've been given the role of head of administration and finance. So we deal with the admin side of the running of the schools, and that's now in the 4 campuses.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So let me go to you, Mrs. Minor. You're the founder and the visionary of Wiki Good Hope, which has been in operation for 20 years. How did this particular dream start off?
Oh, it's been a journey. When I began, that is in the year 2001, I could only manage to get myself one child. And that child, I taught him for 1 term, which is approximately about 4 months.
Yeah.
And from there, it was a hard journey all through, because getting parents to trust me with their children was not easy. It's never easy for a startup. And it took me almost 5 years to actually get to 100 children,
Wow.
which was quite a journey in itself, because also the year that we began the school was the year that free primary education was introduced. So we were starting a business concept based on the same thing that the government
Was trying to do.
was trying to do,
Yeah.
and that really proved to be a tough nut to crack.
Yeah.
But I was so determined. That was my vision. That's what I wanted to do. I'm a teacher by profession, and all through I had dreamt of starting a school and educating children and putting value in them. And I really wanted it to take off. So I did not give up even when I stayed with a child for 1 term. At the end of that term, actually, the mother had given up and said, one of the things that I need to have in my child is that he needs to become a social being. But this school doesn't seem to be taking off. So the mother took away the child. But the following term, I got 10 others, but away from this one.
Yeah.
And it affirmed that what I was doing was still on course.
Interesting. And you've been at the helm at the school for 20 years now, which is
Yes.
quite a long period of time. And you've been holding, it's your baby literally.
Literally, that one you can say again.
It's literally your
Yes.
baby.
Yes.
How exactly, because I know you're trying to form it as a family business, how exactly are you going about now transitioning the business from you now to your son and to your other children?
When I began the school, we began it together with my husband. So it was always a family business. And once the children came along, of course we were busy educating them and all that. But as time has gone on, I contemplated on how do we bring children onto the business so that they can do what. And looking at that businesses, I realized a lot of the children were not taking on the family business. So what I would do is that I would try and interest the child as they go along on what I'm doing, bring them on board and ask them whatever they would want to assist me with, and allow them to really just run along that direction. Kingsley is actually my second born. I did bring on board my first born to try and do social media. And we worked with her for a while, but her interest was not really in the business. So she's already moved to something else. However, when Kingsley came, he's done a number of things, but the one that he did at the university, which was being a conductor in one of the buses, he really wanted just pocket money.
Yeah, we have quite a story.
So the first rule that you're given by your mom is to become a conductor.
You have no idea, Ian.
And here you are, you're studying a degree.
Here I am, more than in fact, I think I'm
More
the
than
most qualified conductor
conductor
there
ever.
was. I don't know if you remember, right? We're seated in the sitting room, and she tells me, Kingsley, you have to get active, and do it and get part of the school and all that. And at first I was a bit reluctant, but then what ended up happening is that they actually put a wager. They're like, this guy can do this. Yeah, they're like, this guy can.
What was the first minimum wage?
It was around 5,000.
Yes.
5,000
Per month.
per month.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and the reason they thought I couldn't do this was because I was potato couch number one. Like, and this job involved, waking up in,
At 5.
usiku wa manane, basically, to get this done. And yeah, so it became, it got turned into some sort of bet. And that's how my 4 years of my university life went by.
Interesting. And this is a very interesting transition that you did, because most of the time we find that for the first generation transitioning to the other generation, you're literally giving them directorship role. But here you are, you decided to make him a conductor. Why did you decide to do that? What were the specific lessons that he had to learn by force?
One was that I knew he needed pocket money to take girls for coffee, and I wasn't willing to be the one doing that. I wanted him to earn that money so that he can be able to have a social life. So incentivizing him to earn a salary, just even if it was basic, was going to, number one, get him off bed a little earlier, and getting him into the business. And I knew he needed to feel comfortable with everybody else, other than come in as a Nona's son, but he comes in as a worker, and therefore he interacts with everybody else. That has worked for even the others, that they come in as workers. Yes.
Interesting. One of the interesting things that you've seen about family businesses, maybe just a case in point of the retailer that failed, was the rivalry between siblings, because the siblings inherited the business and they felt obliged out of it. I don't know, how do you feel, Kingsley, being part of, are you forced, first of all, to be the part of the business?
Not really. So it started off with a conducting business, and I think it's exactly what she said, because we started interacting with the other staff members, and I remember, like, I was allocated a particular bus. This point was a guy called Kamau is still with us, and we were able to get that relationship. And then I think the next step that I took was when it came time to do internship. So I had already started interacting, I think, from that point, and we were doing a bit of social media, very, very easy steps. But when it came time to do the internship, we thought, okay, maybe this is also the chance that we can get to try and push the schools, technology, and all that, because they were like, you young guys can do a bit more. And I think that's when we came in and we did several endeavors to try and push tech into the school. So it hasn't really been a push. It's also been a bit of a pull, because I was interested in rolling out these initiatives. Yeah. So yeah.
Interesting.
And one of the things I can say is that as he watched from the distance, he could tell the challenges that I was facing. And that I didn't have the capacity, like digitalizing. I wasn't in the digital age, so it was easy for him to just come and help me sort out issues from a family perspective, and he found himself absorbed.
Interesting. And something interesting you'd mentioned earlier on was with regards to your first daughter. She didn't want to be involved in the business, and Kingsley was by default coming into the business. How did you deal with that? Because it's always like the first generation wants to pass to the business, or maybe your children do not want your business, then to do something else. How did you handle that?
I think I handled it the same way I'm handling even my third born daughter, that I asked her what's your area of interest and even him, and whether he wants to earn a little pocket money. And she did come. She worked as a receptionist with us for a while. But when another opportunity knocked on her door, she was quick to exit and nicely said goodbye. I said, fine, you know, maybe the Lord wants you to do something else with your life. And my third born daughter is the same thing. I'm telling her, do you want extra cash? Can you come and do one or two things? I've even told her now, we'll buy for you a camera because that's what she's interested in. And can you keep for us the history? Can you be our media person? And all that and all that.
Maybe just as you come to a close, is in terms of just creating the foundation, because the first generation is the foundation to how the business is going to morph out to be in the next couple of years. What's the kind of foundations you've put into the business to ensure that your children take over the business, the transition becomes seamless going ahead?
Let me say that at first when you're building the business, that's not your first concern. You're first concerned with making this baby grow. But as the business grows and grows, and even the children are growing together with it, then it becomes an actual concern. How do we translate to the next generation? How do we even move now to the next one? And I think we are already dealing with that before we begin the issue of the third generation. And we are restructuring the company in a way that we decide how do we share out the shareholding, who works in the business and at what positions, and how do we bring them on board. So I think that's a discussion that's currently on the table, given that already my two children are already at that working level, but I also have two children who have not reached that point. And eventually these two who are working and not yet married will soon be married. So I think we are working on a shareholding that can bring on board, but we want to tag it on to the amount of interest you have. That the number of years you work qualifies you to either a certain amount of shares and all that. So that's the kind of structure we are coming up with.
Interesting.
Yes.
And for you, Kingsley, as you just come to a close, in terms of from your experience, already now being at that particular phase where you're working in the business, working to graduate into directorship into the business, what exactly are some of the lessons, or maybe some of the, what's it called, lessons you've gotten from mom?
When I entered, I think the intensity was quite minimal, yeah. But as we've walked this particular journey, you get to see a much wider angle to this entire business. And even as I sit here, and I just maybe to echo on what she's saying, we've already started on a particular structure, and this structure, you know, has C-suite leadership and whatnot. And funny enough, Ian, as I sit here, I'm not necessarily at the tippy top. I have a supervisor. So there's been a lot of lessons, you know, from how to deal with people, because I think one of the things I gathered from her is, you know, she's big on people. So how I treat those people, you know, I need to treat them in the same reflection that she does. She's been big on, you know, even she might say that she's not very keen on details, but I know, you know, she has, and she's taught me the same lessons.
Yes. Some of the same values are being passed on to you.
Yes, yeah,
Interesting.
the same values.
My goodness, I wish this particular episode could go on and on. But it's quite an interesting conversation I've had with Mrs. Minor and Kingsley of Mwiki Good Hope. That's based in Mwiki, Kasarani.
Yes, we are in Moiro and we are in Kamulu.
Interesting. So it's a group of schools from class 1 to class 8.
Class 8, yes.
Interesting. My goodness. So you guys
kindergarten.
And kindergarten. You can check them out on social media. And quite an interesting insight we've learned in terms of how exactly from the first generation to the second generation, how exactly the carrot is being dangled to ensure that the values goes on. So on that particular note, we're going to take a short commercial break, but after the break, I'm going to be having a conversation with Rupen Shah, the CEO of Victoria Court, a business that is in its third generation, going to its fourth generation. Let's get to learn what exactly it takes for a family business to transition to this particular level. So see you after the break.